If you are using a screen reader and you're planning on starting a podcast in the next little while, I highly suggest you watch this video. We're going to go through RedCircle using a screen reader. Now, RedCircle is a very popular podcasting platform that not only allows you to host your podcast, but you can also control the dynamic insertion of ads into your podcast. And it turns out that although it's not 100% there, and we're going to go through some of the pitfalls that this platform offers, you are, in the end, with these workarounds, able to do this relatively accessibly. So you're able to actually control the ads in your show and determine when they're placed, insert your own ads if you have them, and so on. So we're going to go through how to achieve some of these features. We're only using the free plan, and I have a blank account set up.
RedCircle document.
Ready to go. I'm sharing my screen with you, and I'm using the latest version of NVDA on Chrome. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is how to actually add a podcast. So let's say we don't have a podcast yet. We're going to go down
Create new podcast heading level 3 button.
to the first heading where it says create a podcast, and let's hear what it has to say.
Button graphic arrow dash right. Button I'm new to podcasting and want to create a brand new podcast.
I'm new to podcasting. I want to create a brand new podcast. That sounds like us. So let's do that. I'm hitting enter on that.
Blank. Dialogue. Space blank.
And it brings me into a
Button
dialogue.
no indent close. Heading level 2 create podcast. Separator space no indent image file. Clickable button choose files colon no file chosen.
You need a an image file. I'm just going to use a quick one that I have here. This is just a random file. We're not going to do anything with this podcast. This is just going to be for us to test and play with.
Clickable dialog space.
So no problem.
Clickable button. Support starting link graphic company link help send navigation landmark out of list search for answers edit require main landmark. RedCircle document button visited link clickable dialog blank clickable button visited link no indent learn more clickable dialog space.
All right.
Dialog button close heading level 2 create podcast. Separators no indent image file button delete name edit no indent description edit space.
Now we can write our name.
Edit.
Test
podcast space.
And then let's see what happens when we tab.
Normal button collapsed.
Okay, so we have a button that's simply identified as normal. So this is not an expected behavior pattern. What these buttons actually referring to are unlabeled elements that you can adjust.
Button. Section multi-line editable blank.
In this field here, which is your description for the podcast, which is unfortunately also unlabeled. But this is where the description is written. This is a description. You know, let's I tried earlier pasting in some text from Google Docs, and when you have that text formatted, such as with headings or with hyperlinks, it actually does carry over, but I didn't test any shortcuts. Let's see if the shortcuts work in here. Let's try and bold this text.
Blank. This is a description.
Now I'm going to listen to the description of the text attributes with NVDA key and F.
Arial 10 PT black on white line left.
It doesn't sound like the bold actually happened. So that's one limitation. I would suggest formatting your text first in Google Docs and then having it the way you like it, and then coming over here and pasting it in.
Blank.
Another issue is when you tab in this, it actually doesn't take you out of the editor as you would expect. It instead, well, it creates a tab key. So the way you would have to get out of this is by using the cursor commands. So turn off your NVDA cursor, or in this case, I guess, turn on browse mode with NVDA key and space.
No indent blank. Out of clickable combo box collapsed as autocomplete editable opens list space.
Now this is the inaccessible portion of this that I wanted to show you. When you have to choose a category, which is required, at least one here.
No indent clickable combo box collapsed as autocomplete editable blank.
You get a
Blank,
combo
expanded.
box,
Blank. Blank. A
but it's not.
1E0CC0.
Look how it reads the categories to you. Listen.
Blank. 2B21B-3589-4D22-930B-70025025025DDB.
What the heck is that? What category is that supposed to be? Let's see. What other categories can I choose from here?
Blank. 75 a 60217-E982-4F1-4F-05607E69,064C.
Yeah, because everybody wakes up in the morning and they want to listen to A731934556B podcasts. That's definitely on everybody's mind. Okay, so not accessible, right?
Combo box.
Not great.
Combo box collapsed as auto.
Now,
Blank.
I'm using NVDA, and I'm using my NVDA in laptop layout. So I'm going to be telling you the keystrokes in that layout. There is, in the NVDA user guide, a very helpful table that I'll link to in the description, where you can see all of the desktop layout equivalents to the keystrokes that I'll be describing today, which again are in the laptop layout. Okay, so in order to successfully manipulate this list with a screen reader,
Combo box collapsed as auto. Combo box collapsed. Section multi-line edit.
let's put ourselves, see,
Tab.
I accidentally went back into the
No
editor.
no clickable combo box.
You have to once again exit out of
No
there
indent secondary categories left.
manually.
Clickable indent primary clickable combo box collapsed as auto complete editable opens list 2 space.
So the way I learned to manipulate these categories is by first using enter,
Blank 00917.
typing in a search. So in my example, I have a tech podcast. So I type tech, T-E-C-H. Then I use the NVDA cursor. Now, for those who don't know, the NVDA cursor is a separate cursor from the cursor that you navigate with. It's a little confusing, but all you need to know is this cursor helps you read things that won't necessarily be read by the standard cursor commands. So we're going to take the NVDA cursor and use NVDA key, shift key, and right key to navigate using that cursor. And let's see what we hear.
009170866-4E01-3 view.
So what we heard was it speaking the accessible name for the first search result, which, as we have heard now many times, is 009664 blah 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 blah. Not helpful to us. I then skipped that by once again pressing NVDA plus shift plus right arrow. What this is doing is it's moving the NVDA cursor to the right. So the next thing that we arrived at was a tree view. Now, a tree view instinctively will tell you that there are some items inside of the tree view. So in order to navigate with the items inside of the tree view, we press NVDA key plus shift key plus down arrow.
Caret dash down graphic.
And now we are inside of the tree view. We hear caret down, which if you can press insert enter will expand certain options supposedly.
No previous.
Let's, now that we are inside of this tree view, let's navigate it and see what types of things it shows us. So let's do NVDA key plus shift plus right arrow a few times.
News. Tech news. Technology. No next.
And there you have it. We have done a search for tech. And so what it has rendered for us now, results that we can choose from based on tech. Now, I'm sure for somebody who's a sighted user, this process is much simpler and it takes a lot less time. So if you are working at RedCircle or know somebody at RedCircle, I would urge you to show them this video or watch this video yourself and just get an idea for just the very easy kinds of solves that you can make for users. Okay, so let's say we want to select tech news.
Tech news.
There it is. In order to select what this element, let's review the command NVDA key plus enter we'll select with the NVDA cursor. So let's do that now.
Activate. Elapsed.
It should be now activated. With the regular cursor, let's use insert key plus Z. I'm sorry, insert key plus space. I have it mapped for myself as Z. Insert key plus space will take you back into the browse mode.
No, then Tech News.
And we sure hear Tech News.
Primary category star. Tech News.
Right under the primary category. So we have done it.
Click node
If you want to do it for your secondary category,
clickable combo box collapsed.
it works in exactly the same way.
Blank.
Let's see what other kinds of things they have. Let's type, I don't know, history. And let's see what comes up when we use these same commands. We get to the tree view.
History. Caret dash down. Music. Music. Caret dash down. Graph. Music history.
History, music,
TV
music
film.
History,
Film history.
TV and film.
No, next.
Film history. I like that. Let's choose film history.
Activate.
Turn on the cursor again.
No, then film history.
And there it is.
No, edit DelgadilloAccess at mail.
So we've done it.
Author name. Edit space.
The rest of it is pretty straightforward.
No, edit space. No, then author name. Edit space.
Let's fill that out real quick. I want to get to the next part with you. So test
cancel button. Create button.
We quick create.
Button node button create. Button create. Button
and we're not
upgrade.
hearing anything.
Preview. Remove left tick related shows from webpage. Checkbox unavailable. Not checked. No, then support team for this custom URL is already in use by another podcast. Please edit test dash podcast. Podcast webpage custom link.
Oh, I see. We need to create a different web page.
Shows explicit. Checkbox no podcast webpage custom link. Edit test edit T.
Well, my name is pretty unique, isn't it? So
cancel but create button.
I'm sure there's not a Delgadillo test. And sure enough.
Link test pod link test no next link test podcast.
So we have our podcasts here on RedCircle.
Separators, banner, landmark, graphic, clickable, node, then setting. Button, graphic, caret, dash down. Space blank.
Now what I want to show you is how to upload a file and then control the dynamic ad insertion that RedCircle offers. So let's just
link node, then test podcast.
Click on test podcast here.
Blank, public podcast page, button, link, button, graphic, link.
And it's going to give you all sorts of different options that you can expand in order to work on your podcast.
RSS feed, button, graphic, copy.
So you've got your RSS feed.
Link button, graphic, link, separator, space, link, heading, level 3, node, then episodes. Link, manage, add, and edit.
And here's where you can manage your episodes.
Link, graphic, right dash chevron, heading, level 3, distribution. List your podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more.
A heading for distribution.
To get access to your
it's really easy.
Heading, level 3, donations.
To do.
Allow listeners, heading, level 3, analytics.
All of these things.
View analytics about.
The analytics are about the most accessible I've seen anywhere online for a podcast host.
Heading, allow.
Let's go back up.
Heading, list your podcast. Heading, left, link, graphic, right dash chevron, link, manage, add, and edit episodes for your RedCircle bars.
And let's add our first episode.
Space blank, node episodes, heading, level 1. Link button, node, then new episode.
I navigated to the level 1 heading, and then right underneath that is the new episode button. So let's just
click on new episode button link.
Click on this.
Dialogue, blank.
We're placed into yet another dialogue.
Button no heading level 2 create episode separators node then episode artwork. Clickable button choose files colon no file chosen.
And artwork in this regard is not required. So let's not
heading level 3 drag and drop.
Bother with it.
Images must be larger than 40 title. Edit space.
And then this will be Delgadillo test podcast.
Space. Node then description. Button collapse normal.
And the description is unfortunately just as inaccessible as before. So like I said previously, I would highly recommend using Google Docs to just draft it first if you want to do any special formatting. That formatting will carry over. So, but let's just do one here, drafting a sample description. Okay, then we'll use our cursor commands once again, NVDA key space. Get out of this.
Out of section, no clickable graphic upload, choose a file to upload. Max size, call publish date, combo publish max clickable graphic upload.
We choose a file to upload.
File name colon. Items today group. Yes, podcast 1-002.mp.
I have sample podcasts that I'll upload here that we recently recorded.
RedCircle bar test podcast. Upgrade link. Add video checkbox unavailable not check space. Node then video. Space blank button node then select time.
And it jumped us further down the page, which is not ideal.
Clickable drag and drop heading level 3.
So let's go back up. This is back to
browse.
the
Images must title. Edit button
artwork.
button set out of clickable podcast 1-0 max size.
So we're just going to fly
Publish date.
through, and now we've gotten to publish date.
Combo box collapsed editable December 4th, 2023 4:01 p.m. PST.
And you're able to manipulate that. It's just a regular field where you can delete and rewrite it however you would like.
Button select date. Button select time.
And you can also use a calendar view if that's more of your thing.
Space blank. No indent video. Checkbox unavailable. Not no indent add video feed link upgrade. Clickable more options. Clickable graphic drop down dash icon.
Let me show you what they give you in the more options in case you're interested.
Subtitle. Edit space.
You can add your subtitle.
No edit space. No indent external website. Edit space.
An external link.
No indent Apple : some edit multi-line space.
A summary specific to Apple, because of course Apple has to have everything special for themselves.
Out of edit no indent episode number. Spin button no indent season. Spin no indent transcript URL.
Episode, season, and transcript. This is a one that's really important.
No
so I'm really appreciative that they have
combo
that.
Episode type. Combo box collapse checkbox. No indent episode is button save as button publish.
And your explicit settings.
Button save as draft.
And the save as draft button. So I'm going to save that as a draft. I just hit space.
Button graphic loading 21%.
It's loading. It's saving the draft.
Button graphic loading save as draft. Button graphic loading 56%.
And
button graphic loading 100.
Once this is ready, I'm going to show you how to actually play the show
out of list processing Delgadillo
and add your advertisements in there.
Out of list processing Delgadillo test a podcast 8%. Your episode is processing.
So it's currently processing.
Graphic album dash heading level 1 Delgadillo heading level 1 draft button graphic menu separator space.
In the meantime, let me show you, because it's not immediately obvious, how you can edit your podcast once it's already done the first time. It's not super intuitive. So when you get
button graphic heading level 1 draft
to this menu button here,
button graphic menu,
you click on this menu
separators,
button.
node drafting a sample description, separate button graphic node, menu graphic button.
And all it does is it speaks menu graphic button again. What's actually happening is some additional content has appeared at the bottom of the web page. So again, if you work at RedCircle, this is like really basic, really easy to fix. Let's jump down with Control End.
Clickable menu item visited link delete episode. Menu item visited link copy episode media URL. Menu item visited link edit episode.
You can edit your episode just like that. Click on that.
Dialog blank dialog space.
And you're back in the edit screen.
Button no indent close.
Okay. So we can close out again.
Bar test podcast document blank visited link graphic no indent right dash chevron visited link heading level 3 analytics.
I think we're now able.
Right chevron link heading level 3 embed this episode button refresh.
Yep.
0 clickable space.
We can listen to the episode now.
Unpublished 37 minutes link button public drafting separators button graphic no indent menu heading level 1 draft heading level 1 Delgadillo test graphic album navigation graphic forward chev visited link episodes graphic forward chevron visited link test podcast graphic visited link Delgadillo test a podcast out of list graphic album dash art.
So here we are in our episode. Delgadillo tests a podcast.
Heading level 1 draft button graphic menu separators button graphic no indent menu separate no indent drafting a sample description separate button graph clickable menu item visited link delete episode menu item visited link copy episode media menu item visited link edit episode out of menu clickable space visited link graphic no indent right dash chevron visited link heading level 3 analytics link graphic right dash link heading level 3 insertion points.
So this is where we want to go now, is to insertion points.
Link graphic right dash chevron. Visited.
We'll click on this.
Insertion points, set insertion points and assign audio blocks. That button no indent close. Heading level 4 add audio insertion. Set insertion points and assign audio blocks to dynamically insert ads and custom audio into this.
So since we're only using the free version of RedCircle, we are not able to insert audio blocks. Those are done later in higher tier plans. So what we're able to do is basically customize where we want the pre-generated ads from the RedCircle platform to play. This is especially useful. I listen to a lot of shows that just are talking, and in the middle of the discussion, suddenly I'm hearing about the new deals at my nearby casino. And it's very jarring. So thankfully RedCircle, about that. Not only does RedCircle give us the option to determine where those ads are, they also, I don't think on purpose, made it kind of accessible. So let me show you.
Episode. Link learn more. Separators no indent test podcast Delgadillo test a podcast. Button plus pre-roll.
So for those unfamiliar with the terminology, pre-roll is an ad that airs before your podcast.
Button plus mid-roll.
Mid-roll is in the middle.
Button plus post-roll.
And post-roll is as you may have guessed, at the end of the podcast.
Space blank.
So for right now, let's say we're trying to choose the pre-roll.
Button plus pre-roll.
Pre-roll, we're going to click that and nothing happens. So let's navigate down and see what else is on this page.
Button plus space blank. Clickable. 00:00:00.00.
You have a couple of clickable. That's all it's stated as. Well, I've done some playing around with these buttons, and I can tell you that this first clickable skips backwards. This middle clickable plays the podcast.
Today on the show, we love the...
And this button skips forward a bit.
Using just a Google Pixel.
And I'm Louis Doe.
And we're pausing. Okay. So that's what those three clickables do.
00:00:00.00.00 edit node net 00:00:20.902.
At this point, you're hearing two things. You're hearing the time code for the beginning of the audio, which is 0000. And then you have an edit field, which is very handy as the current time code of exactly where you are. So usually I'll just do this in Reaper and use something like Control-Shift-J to just determine the time at each ad break. But if I've forgotten to do that,
clickable space.
You can just play it.
Clickable.
Let's jump right in and talk about the news from this week. Google unveiled more about project guidelines and innovative lines.
And just keep forwarding.
Oh, this person.
And we're just forwarding a little bit. I just want to show you that you can get
and a speaker direction indicator.
So you can just jump through and say you're trying to insert your mid-roll right here. You can go back up.
Button plus pre-roll. Button plus mid-roll.
And hit mid-roll.
Click 0 clickable space. Clickable. Blank. 00:00:00.00.
Say this is the exact point you want, right?
0.
So let's do Alt-A and copy this time selection.
0:1 Node net 0 clickable space. Clickable. Blank. Node net insertion points left parent. 2 right parent right parenthesis total spots 0.
Okay, so now you hear insertion points.
00:00:00.00 edit 00:00:00.00. Button add. Table with 2 rows and 6 columns. Clickable row 1 column 1.
And here are your columns.
Clickable row 2. Edge of table. Blank column 2 mid roll 1.
So you have mid roll 1.
Column 1 click edge of table. Mid clickable row 1 click column 3 00:00:00.00 edit 00:13:34.852.
And you can insert right here
table 0
the time code that we had in the player. So we can tell it this is exactly the time code where we want that ad to happen.
0:1:3:3:4 dot
at 13 minutes 34 seconds.
8:52 blank.
8:52 milliseconds. We can be very specific.
Edge of table. Row 2 column 4 clickable combo box collapsed as autocomplete editable opens list unassigned.
If we had audio blocks, this is the combo box where we would be able to assign them. But since we're on the free plan, we don't.
Column 5 0 spots.
If we end up upgrading, then I'll be sure to show you how to manipulate those audio blocks.
Column 6 button graphic menu. Edge of out of table button node then cancel. Button save.
And then you can save your ads.
Available. Visited link graphic.
And just like that, you're able to determine where your ads play relatively accessibly using the RedCircle hosting platform. So that's about all of the functionality that I've explored beyond the ability to monitor your. Well, let's look at that before we wrap up.
Insertion points heading level. Link button refresh. 0 click button.
Let me show you how to look at your podcast analytics.
Public episode drafting a separate button heading level 1 draft. Heading left graphic album navigation graphic forward visited link episodes. Graphic forward visited link test podcast. Graph visited link episodes. Graph visited link Delgadillo test of podcast. Delgadillo test out of heading level but separators node net drafting a sample disk public button graphic copy. Link button 37 unpublished button graphic clickable space. Button graphic node net play. Clickable node button refresh. Link graphic right dash chevron. Link heading level 3 embed this episode. Insertion points heading analytics heading visited link graphic right dash chevron.
So we will click on analytics.
Clickable select date range. Clickable since heading clickable combo box collapsed as autocomplete editable.
And then here you're able to filter out through any date range. So obviously we just created this podcast not more than 10 minutes ago.
Node net week. Graphic table,
So
column 2,
there's
node,
not
then
going to be
episode name.
much
Column 3,
information.
clickable publish date.
But
Row
check
2,
this
column 1
out.
through edge of table, out of table, heading level 4 episode performance report. Link upgrade. Heading level 3 listen clickable combo box collapsed as auto node then all episodes.
A lot of the stuff you have to pay for,
Graphic clickable space.
granted.
Heading level 3 node then insufficient data. Please check back later or update your time range.
And so right now we don't have as much data as we would like, but once you actually start to put podcasts up, you'll get a pretty good representation even at the free level of how many downloads you have and what types of devices are actually interacting with your content. So it's pretty neat. Again, if somebody has a even better analytics platform out there, please let me know. But I love what I have seen so far from RedCircle, and like I said, I'd feel like the initial just not being able to choose your own category using the traditional keyboard commands might be a little jarring to some people. So I just wanted to show you and try and break down the barrier to entry just a little bit more. So that's all for now. Make sure to share your podcast with us in the comments, especially if you made it on RedCircle, and let us know how your podcast journey is going. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.
Screen audio settings drop down.